Good evening. Thank you. I'd like to call the monthly board meeting, January 14, 2019, Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District to order. Please rise.
I'd like to have a moment of silence in honor of those firemen across the U.S. that have lost their life in the line of duty. There's 3 this month. And then following that, we'll have a prayer. Dear God, as always, we come humbled and want to give honor to those who made the sacrifice to help others in time of need. And Lord, we pray that you will give those families comfort and strength at this time in their lives. We ask for protection of our firefighters here in Bonita. You will watch over them and protect them, be with their families, and guard and direct them. And Lord, we thank you for our nation. We thank you for the freedom we have and the ability to meet here. Pray that you'll guide all the decisions that are made that impact the lives of others. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comment on agenda items this evening? Seeing none, we're going to swear in the commissioners for their new term.
Okay, Commissioner Murphy, Vice Chairman Casilla, and Commissioner Matero, please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and of the state of Florida,
and with the state of Florida,
that I am duly qualified to hold office
that I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will well and faithfully perform
and I will well and faithfully perform
the duties of Fire Commissioner
the duties of Fire Commissioner
for the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District,
for the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
All right, that's enough. Let's get to work. Next order of business, need a motion to approve the December 3rd, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
One motion for the December 2018 and current expenditures and ACH payments, the acknowledgement of financial report, and the acknowledgement of wire transfers and transfers between accounts.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is years of service presentations. Chief?
Yes, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's an honor for me to present these years of service pins and acknowledgements. So first, I would like to recognize Battalion Chief Gregory Harrell. Is he here? Yes, he is. For 20 years of service. Greg and I worked together for 10 years on C shift back in the glory days of old Station 1. It was back when we were changing the station, we were living in the offices. Greg is obviously a dedicated employee and since has become a fantastic chief officer and leads his crews very well, and I'm appreciative to work with Greg and your long tenure here. Congratulations, Greg.
Congratulations, Chief.
The true story is when Greg was a firefighter and he was hired, I believe it was one of your first fires, and he was pulling a hose, and somebody was getting in his way to try to stop him, and I think you ran him over, didn't you, Greg? You put your shoulder down and plowed him and put the fire out? Yeah, okay. Yeah. The cop says he was obstructing emergency services, so it was okay. Next, I would like to say, is firefighter EMT Jesse Cottrell here? He's not here, but we'll recognize Jesse for 15 years. Next is firefighter EMT Jason Burgess, 10 years of service. Jason's also a fellow Marine. You couldn't tell, but Jason is an outstanding employee. He's one of our top guys, of course. And if you need a door broken down, he's the guy to do it. Congratulations, Jason. Next, we have firefighter Brian Buzos, 1 year of service. I don't know Brian very well, but I do know he's been an outstanding firefighter, and I believe you just got off probation, correct? Yes, sir. Congratulations. Getting off probation is the most important one.
Tough job.
And next, we have 1 year of service, Fire Commissioner Jeffrey Maturo. Commissioner Maturo has been a fire commissioner for 1 year, obviously, and he has done an outstanding job. And when he actually jumped in with both feet as a commissioner and wanted to learn everything he could learn about the district, and I want to thank you for your support for the fire district. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chief, if I may, real quick, I just want to say I'm honored to be representing the people of Bonita Springs, and I'm very proud to be working with such an amazing organization and a group of commissioners. I'm very fortunate. I just genuinely want to thank you, everybody, and thank my family and friends for being here tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, congratulations to everybody. That's the end of the presentations. If anybody would like to leave after the presentations, we can take a couple of minute break now, otherwise we'll just move on. You're welcome to stay, but I know some don't like to, so. Okay, the next item is Commissioner's business. Commissioner Machero?
I just had a question about the M27 replacement project, if I may, sir.
Okay, that, we've got the,
Or is that-
we've got that on the agenda under
Okay.
new business, but if you want to bring that up now.
No, that's, I
okay.
can wait. Thank you, sir.
I have nothing right now.
Okay. Commissioner Casella?
Yes, on the way over here, I happened to drive by the high school, and it brought me back about when I was a fire chief in New York. And we had a program with the high school where we had classes, and because of the problems we're having getting recruits nowadays, we set up a program teaching them firefighting. We brought them to the burn center and so on, and we had a great class. And then I was also a fire investigator, licensed, certified fire investigator, so I set up a program, and they went crazy over it, and I'd be teaching the kids fire investigation. I just wondered, do we have anything in that area here?
We do not have anything like that. However, we have done a presentation through our PES program and showing them what it's like to be a firefighter and basically what the steps are to become a firefighter. We haven't necessarily reached out for a mentorship type of program, but that's not something that we have not thought about or plan on working for in the future.
Okay, because it worked very, very well. We had more kids become firefighters out of that program than you would believe, and just with the times nowadays, not getting the recruits we used to get, just thought maybe it's something to think about.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Murphy?
Yes, sir. First of all, in driving around the community, I've noticed our firefighters have been taking care of the fire hydrants. And I want to commend them for their hard work. Every location I've driven past and stopped at and talked to the men, they've been hard at work. Nobody's standing on shovels. These guys are doing a great job, and I want to thank them for that. Secondly, I have a letter I'd like to read. This is a correspondence I received from a Richard Keelan. He is a child advocate for the Golisanos Children's Hospital, Southwest Florida. He says, gentlemen, I would be excited to offer the fire EMS module to the mental health first aid to your folks. The course was designed in portions written by and for fire and EMS staff. It is respectful of the fire EMS culture. The course is $25 per person. I can come to you or arrange a room at the Lee Health Facility. The course is 8 hours of instruction and can be helpful in one day or in 2 4-hour sessions. I need a minimum of 5 for the class and a maximum of 30. With that, I would ask for our staff, the chiefs, and commissioners to take a look at this program and see if it would be beneficial to the community to have our guys participating in what would be an overview of what the mental health situation would be for children and others in the community when they come across that type of situation. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. And I have just one item, just to give the commission an update on where we are with the fire station for the high school. We met out there last week with several of the head people, and we are now in the process of looking at a piece of property there that actually fronts Imperial Parkway. We'd probably have to jump through some hoops to get some things reclassified, but it's the only particular piece of ground that would suit our purpose and help our response times and give us the presence that we were looking for. The last I knew, Tim was sending CAD drawings, and so it's still in the process. If that particular site can't be worked out, and we've got a lot of things we've got to look at first, but if that can't be worked out, then I would say that we'd probably go back to our original plan of strike lane. But we are still actively pursuing that, and I just wanted to bring the commission up to date. That's all I have. Thank you. Next item, old business. Acknowledgement of change to 2019 meeting dates, Retirees Insurance Trust Fund. Board meeting time changed from 8:30 to 11. Under new business, need a motion for the disposal of assets report.
So move.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Need a change order number 12, motion for the change order for the required sod added.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Change order number 13 for the added public works scope. Need a motion for that.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next two items are resolutions 19-01-14, amending the firefighter retirement system and the general employee retirement system. Chief, if you've...
Yes, sir, just as a prelude, both of these amendments that are in your packets are no impact to the district, which means they are not going to cost any more money. However, we do have a representative, Mr. Christensen is here, if you have any questions or you require an explanation.
Good evening. My name is Scott Christensen with the firm Christensen and Diener in Sarasota. It was kind of fun to be here tonight. I haven't been to one of these board meetings in a long time, but I saw you had on the agenda that all the service awards, and I looked back to see how long I had been working for your firefighters pension plan, and it seems I started in 1994. So I've got almost 25 years of service to your firefighters pension board. So that being said, though, I actually wrote the plan. You all had I think it was a money purchase plan back in prior to 1994, and the decision was made to utilize the funds that we got from the state under Chapter 175. And I wrote the plan, and the rest is history, so to speak. So that's kind of a background on what we do. My partner and I represent about 100 pension plans around the state, police, fire, general employee pension plans. We don't do anything else. So this has kind of been our job for about 30 plus years. So that's kind of background on me. The two resolutions that you've got, we can talk about them separately or together, but if you looked at the paperwork, did you get the letter from me as well telling you why we're making the changes? Hopefully if you got that maybe answered some of the questions you might have with regard to those resolutions. One of the functions that I have for the pension plans is not only to keep you up to date with regard to any changes that are made in state law, Florida law, but from time to time, since the plans are tax qualified pension plans, of course we're subject to the tax qualified requirements under the Internal Revenue Code. So we actually work with a tax attorney up in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's a huge firm. They have a whole department that does nothing but advise governmental plans on tax issues. So periodically we have our pension plan documents reviewed by that firm, and then we come back to our clients and we let them know that what changes need to be made. Now everything in that resolution is not Internal Revenue Code requirement, but I've indicated the ones that are. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have either on those resolutions or anything else in the pension plan. If you have a question about how the plan works or what the benefits are or what have you, I mean, obviously I can answer those questions for you.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes. If this has no impact on the district, these changes?
No funding impact.
No funding.
Right.
Is there any funding impact on any other body?
No, there is no additional cost associated with the changes that we're making in these resolutions. So that means no one is going to be paying. The members aren't going to be paying anymore. You're not going to be paying anymore, and we won't be tapping into any additional state money in order to pay for these changes because the changes simply have no cost.
Thank you.
That usually makes councils and commissioners much more comfortable when they're dealing with these types of things.
Any other questions?
Yep. Who proposed these changes? Are you saying the IRS? These are IRS recommendations?
Well, obviously, the IRS doesn't make recommendations. When they say something, you do it. But essentially, the changes are, if you want to know how they come before you.
Yeah.
First, I get the tax attorneys to do the review that I just discussed a moment ago. I get that review back from the tax attorneys, and then based on that review, I draft changes to the pension plan that will meet the requirements that the tax attorneys have told us that we need to do. Then I take that resolution and I provide it to the Board of Trustees. They review it. They also get a letter similar to the letter that you got explaining the reason for the changes, and then the board reviews it and most times when I recommend it to them, they will approve it and authorize me to send it to the district for action.
So the Board of Pension has approved all of these,
Yes, sir.
you know. Are these different than the Florida pension plan? Our pension plan different?
Yes, your pension plan is entirely different than the Florida retirement system.
Significantly different in any place?
The changes that you see in these resolutions, we're making for virtually all of our clients around the state.
Okay. We have a Florida pension system, and we have the pension system here for the Bonita Board. I'm trying to ascertain, by these changes, are we coming in line with the Florida system? Are we making significant changes to our benefit?
No, there's no changes to any benefits here. But to answer your question, we're not trying to become the Florida retirement system, okay? We have a system under Chapter 175 of the Florida
Right.
statutes,
Right.
and that's kind of what we go by.
Yeah.
The catalyst for these changes were because of the tax code change?
For the most part. The disability change, if you read that explanation, we had some litigation that was involved with the language that we had in there before, where the judge said, we don't think the language is as clear and says what you say it says.
Okay.
So based on that litigation, I went back and I rewrote that section of the disability section to make it clear exactly what we were doing. So we're not changing the interpretation of the plan by the changes in the language. We're simply clarifying the way we've always done it.
Thank you.
Do you and your firm and your license, do you certify these as your recommendations to us?
Yes, sir?
No. Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and nice to see everybody.
You too, thank you.
I need a motion, two separate motions, one for the firefighters' retirement and one for the general employees' retirement.
Make a motion on the first one, the firefighters' retirement.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now I need one for the general employees' retirement.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next item is M27 replacement project. I believe that,
Yes, sir. I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Scott, who's going to update us on where we are. Go ahead, Deputy Chief.
So about a year ago, almost to the month, we came in and asked to replace Marine 27. And the grant cycle was coming up in March, as it is again this year, and we asked for permission to apply for the grant. We proposed, I believe, a few vessels that we had already were taking a preliminary look at. All of these boats were aluminum in construction. They followed the trend of the fire service, the military, the Coast Guard, law enforcement, those kinds of things. In our area even, most of the fire departments have and continue to move towards those types of boats. So the board granted us the approval to apply for the grant. We did so. We got permission as of October 1 that we had our grant approved. Since that time, earlier in 18, right after the grant process in March, I believe, Assistant Chief DeWitt and myself went to Louisiana to look at Metal Shark boat, some of the boats we were looking at. We went to Alabama to look at a Silver Ship Ambar, and then recently we went to North Carolina to look at another boat that we have had on our radar for a while. So in your packet, you had a letter that explains some of this. I was just revisiting the history over the last year and where we were, what we've been through, and where we are now. So we have some pictures that we're going to bring up on the screen over here. So just to show you some of the trips, some of the boats we saw, some of the things we learned, and how we got to where we are today. This was a boat from Silver Ships. It's an ambar. It's used by the Coast Guard, the military, and this is a vessel that actually Commissioner Casilla was on, right down at our dock. They brought it here. It's also the same boat that we saw in Alabama, this one. It's they're all about 25 or 26 feet. If you go to the next picture. So, and I'm going to tell you which one we picked and why. But each one of these boats had things on them that we really liked and we are customizing in the boat we picked. We did not pick this boat, but this console we liked very much. And one of the reasons, and the chief brought it up today because of a video we saw about a year ago and our guys out on the boat, but it's, instead of being a center console like a recreational fishing boat, kind of like our boat now, it's almost a complete pilot house. It's got glass in front, on the sides, it protects you from the weather. It's got a windshield wiper on it, of course, that you can clear the windshield on. It's also one complete piece. The console comes up over top of your head and ties into the leaning post that's behind you, so it doesn't, our boat had some flaws in it, and the T-top actually stress cracked, and we had to have it repaired. Again, recreational boat as opposed to a commercial style boat. One thing we're doing different that we decided is we're putting a vent system. The glass can teeter out, because when we were in these boats, there was no ventilation that came through. There's no rain that comes through, but when it's hot, and then August and July, there's also no breeze that comes through. So ours, if you've seen boats, bigger boats, the glass kind of goes out and you can lock it down with thumb screws and you can get ventilation in without rain. Okay. That's a picture of the very same boat we saw at the factory that they were building for Ceto, I believe. Same hull, same boat. It's just some pictures we took. We gotta let you know that we're actually there. This was the artist's rendition of that boat. It just gives you a little better picture. One thing I want to point out on this boat and the next one I'm going to show you, I have to use the laser pointer. One of the problems with these boats, besides the draft, Estero Bay is very, I'll do it on this one, I'm sorry. It doesn't just show up as well, but I can do it in front here. Estero Bay is very shallow. This boat and the Metal Shark, the one that the Coast Guard's using, Iona's using, and actually you'll see in a minute, Captiva just purchased, they all draw over 24 inches of water. That's a big problem for us, even where our boat sits now. On the lift, it won't be able to float. Even if we took the lift away at low tide, the water there sometimes is at or below 2 feet of water. So that's a big problem, and most of these boats are like that. The other problem, what you see right here where I'm pointing is the only storage in the entire boat, is these two doors behind the leaning post. This is where the pump is. There's no storage up front. There's very little deck space for patients, for equipment. As you can see back here, you can barely stand up here. And there's no storage back here at all in the transom. That's where the batteries and the battery switches are. We carry a lot of, everybody carries a lot of stuff on their boats, but we carry additional things. Medical equipment, water rescue equipment, foam for the fire pump, plus all the normal things you carry on the boats. Life jackets, fire extinguishers, boat hooks, binoculars. I can go on and on. If anybody's had a boat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, we can go to the next one. This is the Metal Shark. This was the other boat we were anticipating, following the trend in Lee County with Iona and some of the other fire departments, and the Coast Guard has one of these. Beautiful boat. They're all very high quality. I spent about 4 hours on this boat after they received it, before we went to North Carolina to look at Cape Fear, and I'm not going to spend as much time on this one. The chief of Captiva went with us on the trip, so he did a lot of the same things that we looked at with the console. We're making this all one piece. It's not really showing up on here very well. Again, just to point out, the only storage in the whole boat is right here. Those two doors. Nothing in the transom, nothing in the bow, besides the anchor locker. And that's it. Again, very nice boat, narrow. These boats are all, with these collars, are 8.5 feet wide. So when you take the big collar out of there and the gunnel, there's about 6 feet across the middle of the boat. Commissioner, we noticed that when we were on the Silver Ship. It was an awesome boat.
That was a major problem.
But basically you stand or sit where you are and you hang on and you drive. If you have to work on the boat, and they're military boats, and that's a lot what they do, law enforcement. And they chase down people, but if you have to work like we do, it doesn't always fit the bill. So we can go through a few of these pictures. It was just different angles.
Chief Scott, what
Yes.
was the draft on that boat?
This one was also over 24. I put a tape measure in the water on all these boats, by the way. This is not what they advertise. What people advertise and what it comes out as, because they never built these boats with fire pumps and those types of consoles, you got to put a tape measure on it when it's in the water.
He couldn't give you exact number when we were with him, remember?
Yes.
The owner of the company.
Right. So we taped them. So they were both slightly over 24 inches, the way they sat. You can go forward. The one thing we really liked on this boat is the console's going to be laid out very much the same with the GPSs and the throttles. That'll be pretty consistent. They did a very nice job. Is this part. This is the cover for the fire pump. Instead of being out in the open like ours is, exposed to the weather with a canvas cover, both of these, as you notice with the other one, has an aluminum cover with vents in it. Cuts down on the noise, protects the pump, and we've modified even further. We are going to put roll-up doors similar to on the fire trucks at all these access points. So we have complete opening on the sides and ventilation when we run the pump. Here they have little vents, they have a little access door here to check the oil, and the exhaust comes out here. And then there's a hatch in the front. Very limited access to the pump. So we've changed that as well. So this is our trip to North Carolina. That's the owner of the company, Cape Fear. That's actually our boat, as long as we move forward on it and commit to it. They've been in business for quite some time. They build commercial boats. They're trying to get into the public safety world. And I say that not because they have no experience. He's been building aluminum boats for 30 years. Really, the only difference is the pump and the plumbing and things like that we spec'd out with him. So we rode in this very hull, one that was finished as well. All these boats we rode in before we committed to it. So we were very, very impressed with the hull and the seamanship, how it handled. This is just a picture of the stringer system, the deck supports. I think there's about twice as many, if I remember right, Chief, that are going to go in this before they're finished. Right now, they're plumbing the boat to our specs to move forward. I think that's a picture of Assistant Chief DeWitt standing in the boat. So the scale on this boat is 9.5 feet wide, it's 25 feet long, it's huge compared to the others. And the gunnel, it doesn't have that big collar, although it has an industrial commercial rub rail on it, but it's solid 1/4 inch aluminum. So it's very, very rugged. So go ahead and move forward. We have a rendition of the boat, the way it's going to be when it's done. So that's a very basic picture of what it's going to look like. I think we're going to change the white to a gray because white's going to get very dirty. But as you can see, the housing for the pump, the deck gun on the front, the console, go to the next picture. The console looks very much like the ones you saw on those other boats, with the full windshield in the front, the returns on the side, and the cutouts on the side to access patients. Here is storage for all our equipment. There's storage here, and there's storage in both of these, and we created customized sleeves on either side of the boat in the deck and the sponges for the foam. So they fit exactly in the hole. So every part of this boat, we have a 4-page spec sheet that we went through for 14 hours, if I remember right. Everything in the boat from bow to stern. Oh yeah, we did 2 full days of going over building this boat. So. We even put these on the front so the firefighters can, ramming speed, they can bang into stuff with it and not hurt the boat, because we don't want them to hurt our boat. I'm kidding. Well, not really, a little bit.
Will this boat ever be trailered
So it's,
at all?
It can be trailered, yes,
Okay.
yes.
it's a twin hull then?
It is. It's very similar to the layout of the one we have. The one we have has been a very, very good design. The crews like it. It works. It's got the space. We fit all the equipment. This is very close with some modifications. The biggest modification to this is it's aluminum. It's a commercial style boat. Our boat has been out of service more times than I remember, mainly because of gel coat and fiberglass damage. From the nature of the business that we do, of running into things and days and situations that you wouldn't normally take your private boat in, because you just wouldn't go there, and the boat gets damaged. Plus, since we've transitioned it down to Station 7, it's out in the weather 24/7, 365. And the boat's on the water probably 4 days a week, where it used to be on the water once every 2 weeks. So all these things have prematurely taken a toll on the boat we have, which was substantially less money, but not really built for the mission of what we're doing today, where it's on the water almost daily and it's out in the weather always. So, like I said, we're committing to this. We'd like to commit to this. That's why we're here talking to you about it. We want to move forward. We even had them put the Bonita Springs logo on the side there today. So it looks like it's becoming
And
ours.
the budgeted amount, you came in with the numbers that we gave you to work with?
Yes, sir. The grant was for, the total package is $250,000. The grant is 50% of that. So the financial responsibility to the district obviously is $125,000.
By the end of the day, that's it?
Yes, sir. It will not come in over $250,000, the total package.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
What is the current size of our boat we're using now?
It's a 26-foot boat.
And this is 25?
It's actually 26 now that we're done with it. He just told me today. It's the same exact size, it's a little wider.
And what is the current draft of our boat that we have now?
Our boat drafts 19 inches. This one We're anticipating it drafting 14 inches.
What?
14 inches. The sponses are wider. He had a 29-foot boat there with 3 2-in-300s on it, and we saw the water line, and the line was at 17 inches. So we're anticipating this one being a little less because it's lighter and the engines are considerably less weight.
Excellent.
So even if it goes to 15, it's still, 10 inches less than the other two choices that we looked at.
And this will have more capabilities than our current vessel.
Well, the pump is, it's a better pump. Everything on the boat, obviously, because the price has increased, we've improved. Besides the construction of the boat, the pump, the console, the storage, the piping, we have PVC Schedule 80, I think, in the boat now. This is all aluminum Schedule 80, very much built under the deck, just like our fire engines. That's what he's using for his model.
Okay, so what's the expected lifespan of a boat like this?
I'm going to tell you a story quickly. We were at Metal Shark, same material, 1/4-inch aluminum. When we were there, they had a boat in from the Coast Guard. The hull was 20 years old, and they were completely refabbing the hull. They were putting new electronics, new steering, new wiring, and sending the boat right back out.
So this boat, we're going to have a while.
I'm pretty sure it's going to outlast me here, my career anyway. Yes, I would anticipate
If it
this.
doesn't, it definitely will.
Yeah. The boat we have now is 6 to 7 years now, and it's fine. It works, but it's rapidly deteriorating. I don't know how many of you seen it. It's got stress cracks in it. We had the T-top completely re-welded and reconstructed. It's had half a dozen gel coat and fiberglass repairs. It's wearing out.
Well, I'm guessing too, the upgrade in electronics from when we bought that boat till now has got to be earth-shattering.
Sure, and motors. Motors
Sure.
at 7 years old for
Yeah.
what we do. The sheriff's department replaces theirs at 3 years. So 5 years is probably what you would do for a public safety boat. So when we looked at ours, do we want to go put, $40,000 on our hull? This is the boat you would repower in 5 years or 6 years and put new electronics in it and whatever else you have to do, because it's the way it's built and constructed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
what is the resale value of our current boat?
It's hard to say. I talked to the chief at some length today about this. I ran the NADA value on a twin V hull that we have. Ours was custom made for us. It doesn't have bait wells, it doesn't have rod holders, it doesn't have
It's
any
not
of-
a recreational boat.
It's not a
I've been on the
recreational
boat
fishing
and
boat.
the
So to
deck's
sell it to,
higher.
I'm not saying it's not a boat that's seaworthy, I don't mean that, but out to the general public, I don't see it being, a big prize. Plus they know where it's been used, right, by the fire department, the types of conditions it's been in. So, but being all that said, it's in the $40,000 range on NADA, between 40 and 50, whether it be base and top end. Now, I can tell you that one of the local fire departments is extremely interested in it. They have contacted us many times. It's Fort Myers Shores, and I anticipate them putting a bid in if you all decide that we're going to put this out to bid once we receive our new boat.
I can't imagine we'd want to keep it.
No.
Just from my opinion, what would we want to keep it for?
Again, we've talked about that at some length, and we have backup fire engines, but to keep a boat ready to run a call somewhere, I just don't think it'll turn out that way. If when we have to get a repair done in service, having it ready to run a call and put it in the water, I just don't
Well,
foresee that happening.
it would be perfect if another fire department bought it.
Sure.
That, would be able to get some more use out of it. I think that would be a win-win for everybody.
And because we participate in MERT, and there's 4 to 5 units that respond to every emergency call, that's what it's for, because all of our boats go down. The
Sure.
boats, they go just like the trucks. They go in for service, they have to be repaired, and other people take up the space. So I don't know that there's a reason to carry 2
Well, I will say you
boats.
guys did a nice job on this.
Yeah,
putting
we're
it
pretty
together
excited
and-
about it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What was the total cost of the boat when we bought it?
The
With
boat,
grant?
the boat was $104,000, and we traded in the boat we had for, I can't quote me to the exact number, but it was in the middle 20s.
The cost of the boat, when it was time to purchase it, and did you say 7 years ago we have the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cost of the district was $38,000 at that time. That I remember.
We had a matching grant for that.
Yes, we
What was
did.
the total cost of the boat? When it was
$104,000.
$104,000?
Yes, sir.
We had 7 years then?
Yes.
Right. Why is it critical on the draft of the boat? 14 inches, 24 inches? Why is that such a critical factor?
We just live in it's a geographic thing. We live in an area, even in the channels,
Yeah.
where the boat is. They have to move it now at low tide because it can't float off the lift. There's a mound behind it. In the channels, sometimes they're not more than 3 feet deep. And the places that people get in trouble, many of our calls are places where they're not in the channel anymore. So to be able to
I
access
would hope
them-
so. I would hope they're not in the channel.
Well, they run aground.
24-inch draft, the person could stand up in 24 inches. He doesn't
Yeah,
need
well,
much help.
people are in places shallower than that many times in Estero Bay. So it's so we can navigate through as much of the bay and the areas that we serve.
So
that
we've
people
come
serve.
from a $100,000 boat to $250,000 boat.
Yes, sir.
How frequently have the pumps been used on this for firefighting purposes at all?
Oh, yeah. We've shown videos in here. We've had quite a few boat fires that we've put out.
Well, I look at that as how many times do they foam a jet at the airport? You got to have it. I mean,
Well,
that's,
and-
you know, at the end of the day,
Well,
The last couple fires, fully involved fires we had were up near Fort Myers Beach, and we were on scene and extinguished the fire before any other agency even got on scene. Because of the nature of us we're the only boat that sits on the water with a station adjacent to it, where we're out on the water and leaving within 5 minutes. Most of the rest are at 20 to 30 minutes on their responses.
how
so-
many other fire departments in Southwest Florida have boats?
Ooh, we could name them. Estero, Iona McGregor, Cape Coral, City of Fort Myers, Sanibel, Captiva, Pine Island, Boca
We all
Grande.
respond to the same general areas?
We
same
have areas throughout the county that we have a MERT response, like 4 or 5 units, depending on where it is.
plus you go south too, you get North
We
Collier.
do. We go into North Collier as well. And they do the same. They come to our areas as well.
That's all my questions.
Anybody else have any questions?
Chairman, if I may, on our disposal report, we're showing a thermal camera that's obsolete now. It looks like it ran a service life.
It broke.
Okay,
We couldn't
so-
get it to work.
Are we replacing it on this boat?
We replaced that on the existing boat
Okay.
because it's a valuable piece
Sure,
of equipment.
absolutely.
So the standard fee to repair it was $5,300. I contacted Ray Marine, who makes it FLIR,
Right.
and they sold us a brand-new one in the box, an older model, but still newer than the one we had for $4,200 with a 2-year warranty.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So we replaced that, put it on, and we also thought that might help with the resale, of course, when we put it out to another fire department.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Okay, I guess we need a motion. We've already approved all of this, but just for formality, we need a motion to do this particular contract.
I make a motion to proceed with this contract to purchase the new fireboat.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now,
And if I may, before we move on, I was involved a little bit with Richie's work, and I am incredibly proud of all the work he did. He spent hours and hours and hours and hours, and hours on top of that, doing the work, and he was so dedicated to it. I was surprised. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I didn't get that last part why you were surprised, but
Well, I think that goes for all of us. We appreciate the time and effort that goes into building one of these, because it's not like, I know from the last one it was, and this one is more complicated. Okay, next item. Chief.
Yes, gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to echo what Mr. Casilla, Vice Chairman Casilla, had mentioned. Deputy Chief Scott and the Assistant Chief put in a tremendous amount of work. Not only is he running our EMS division, but the time it takes and effort it takes to provide the community and the board and the district with the expertise that he has is remarkable, and I thank you for your work, Richie, also.
Chief, I didn't say anything about the assistant chief.
Yeah, I tried to leave that out, too. Anyway, to the next item, I did want to discuss when we talked about Station 4, I thought it was a good time to bring up a few items and talk a little bit about where we were and where we are now and where we've come over the last several 5 years or so. After the economic downturn, during the economic downturn, the board lowered the millage to provide some relief for the taxpayers. At that point, during the rebound, the district cut several costs, and actually we forewent, I should say, all maintenance on facilities, all maintenance in the district, and any kind of capital improvement. As far as, we did some staff reductions, and in the eventuality, we did not have enough money coming in at ad valorem to pay for personnel costs. We were pulling out of reserves for, I believe it was about 7 years. We could not cover our personnel costs, so we used the reserves to do that. Since that time, during the rebound, the board has taken several steps to improve the district. The board has enhanced the training grounds to become a state-certified live burn facility that you see out back. We got into a public-private partnership with MCI, and the board recognized the management and the growth of a district by creating a second battalion when a first battalion was not doing the job that we wanted them to do because of the expansion of the district. The board recognized that and allowed us to open up a second battalion, and the board also provided a much-needed service to Hickory Island and East Bonita by approving Station 26 and 27. Also, the board had the foresight to see the need for potentially building a station out near the high school prior to the high school being built. We have that property now available for the taxpayers when the need comes for the service. The board also purchased a second ladder truck for the 2nd Battalion and including the eastern expansion. As well as they replaced 2 engines and adding a light rescue pumper for Station 27. According to the depreciation plans, the board also approved a capital improvement plan, which was suggested and recommended by Ms. Lisa Genron, which has provided the board the vehicle and the mechanism to plan for future growth and to continually plan for replacement costs and depreciations and any equipment that the district needs to maintain the current level of service. Additionally, the board authorized the rebuilding of a dilapidated, outdated Station 23 for the same cost, essentially, that it would have cost to bring the station up to current standards. And as part of the community development, the board authorized the beautification of Station 1 with the downtown, with a mural and also a memorial park that has been completed. Now, this is a big one. The board also was proactive with firefighter safety by authorizing us to provide the firefighters with 2 sets of fire gear, taking into account the rampant cancer that's been going through the fire service over the last several decades. And also, the board upgraded the #1 piece of safety equipment for the firefighters, which is replacing and updating the SCBA. In other safety equipment, they authorized the use and the purchase of new Jaws of Life, which run on battery operation instead of hydraulics, which, before they were even put in service, saved someone's life. Also, the hazmat meters, which we use, which were way outdated after the economic downturn, we were able to do that as well. Also, from a technology standpoint, over the last several years, we did a complete redesign of our medical inventory process to a complete paperless and high accountability system of a radio frequency ID system, which Chief Scott initiated. We also went paperless to include an inventory tracking program called PS Tracks, in which every piece of equipment in the entire district is inventoried through an electronic means without basically checkboxing and going around the paperless system. We implemented a repeater system on the trucks for enhanced communication, another safety item for the district, in which now our firefighters have the capabilities to enter into buildings and areas of the district that have limited capabilities for communications. So we wanted to thank the board for that as well. Also, we have recently upgraded our ESO, which is our fire reporting system. We upgraded to ESO from Firehouse, which we've had since 1997. Since 97. So we've had the opportunity to upgrade there. Additionally, with the technology, we have currently, we used to write down on paper basically our staffing. Now we have a software program called EladTech, which facilitates the battalion chiefs with the multiple different staffing scenarios on a daily basis. So what that brings us to is also what you have just seen. The board has authorized the utilization of the grant program to provide the state-of-the-art boat project, rescue boat project, which will serve the community in many ways in this area. And finally, the board has authorized me and us to provide a mechanism to completely pay for this station and become debt-free, which means every piece of equipment that we have in the district, capital equipment, is paid for. We have no debt once the board possibly authorizes us to finalize that. So what that does for the community, that allows us to move into the future in complete preparation for the next economic downturn with no bills except for our standard reoccurring costs of personnel. So I just wanted to bring up to the public what we've done over the last several years. Of course, I just scratched the surface, but the important point was this station is the last debt that the district owes, which we are essentially going to take care of tonight.
I
So,
inherited that, though.
yes, sir. And actually, the chairman was very adamant about making that one of his goals over the last 10 years he's served. So, thank you.
Thank you. On that note, take a motion to approve the Station 4 payoff.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. This chart you've given us here tells us you've paid off the principal on Station 4,
Yes, sir.
and you record that as amount owed from the general fund. So we've taken almost $3 million and paid off that loan. And we've also paid off, must be earlier, $1.3 million. So it says here total owned to the general fund, $2.6 million. Yeah. Could you tell me where we got that $2.6 million? How we paid it off?
The $2.6 million
Yeah.
is paid out of the general ad valorem fund. Total. That's including some of
These
the,
are,
And impact fees.
yeah, and impact fees. Basically,
no,
the
they're not
impact,
impact fees. If they were impact fees, you wouldn't owe them to the general fund.
yes, the impact fees are owed to the general fund, meaning any impact fees that we acquire over the next several years,
Yeah.
whatever it is, we can pay back the general fund with that money.
And the reason for
So
that is
impact fees
were not enough to cover for those several
Correct.
years, so we pulled money out of the general fund, and we're paying ourselves back with the impact fees.
Correct. Basically,
You
during the economic...
You paid off the loan with the general funds, with the taxpayers' cost of operations. You did not pay it off with the impact fees. We didn't have enough.
Correct.
I wonder where we had $3 million available within the department to pay off the loans.
Well, we had to budget that during the economic downturn. We had to budget paying for the station. We could not rely on the impact fees. So over the several years that we were not receiving impact fees, unless we were going to default, we had to pay it out of ad valorem money. However, we are allowed to repay ourselves with future impact fees, the money that was spent out of the general fund.
And we were making 2 years payments because you had to make a year mortgage payment and have a year in reserve as
Yes,
a
sir.
backup as a requirement. So we already had 400 and some $1,000 that was in a reserve account that the bank made us keep there as collateral for our, plus the 400 and some thousand that we're not going to have to pay this year, gives us somewhere in round figures, somewhere around $850,000 of that to start with.
Yes, sir.
I still contend that we use taxpayers' money, not impact fees, to pay off these loans. I'm not too sure, and I don't explain how we had that money. How do we have so much money that we can be paying off impact?
I'd like to address that. We've been working on this budget now for quite a few years to get there. When I came in here 10 years ago, I couldn't understand why we ever had a mortgage to start with, because this was built back in the day when things were going well in this town. And under previous administration, whatever the reason was, they took a pretty large $6 million, and we're paying it off, and no matter what you're paying for interest, it's silly to do that. So I've worked very closely with the administration and the rest of the board, and even previous boards. We worked kind of hard to make sure that we weren't lacking for anything for safety reasons, but to get rid of the only mortgage that we have on this whole district. And I know I probably drove you guys kind of crazy for a while about it, but matter of fact, I'm sure I did. But at the end of the day, we have impact fee money that's going to be owed to us, and I don't know what the numbers are. Lisa will probably be able to address that, but because we did not have enough money coming in impact fees for those number of years, we were making the mortgage payments out of the general fund anyway, Commissioner. So at the end of the day, we were still using the general fund to pay this loan off. The only thing we're doing now is over the last few years, we've built up enough reserves and budgeted for this, so that this is a very happy day for me personally. I'm going to be honest with you. It's been something, it was a goal I set 10 years ago, and it at the time didn't seem like it was even doable. And with the fine gentlemen that are up here working with me, we made this happen, and I think every one of us should be damn proud of it.
Mr. Chairman. Chief, that was an excellent report, and it touched on all the highlights of what we've been doing around here for several years, many years, and I would appreciate a written copy of that report.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we finished the vote
Well,
on
I
it.
just want to clarify in my mind. It says principal owed as of January 15th was $1.8 million. And you're telling me now we paid that off since?
We just made a motion and voted on, we haven't paid it yet. We've approved in the budget for this budget year to pay that off. Now, this motion is to have Lisa be able to write the check and release the funds.
Lisa, you're going to write a check for $1.8 million?
Lisa can answer that question.
Yeah, somebody should answer it besides you.
Wire transfer, but yes.
Okay. So we have $1.8 million of taxpayer money. I wonder if we haven't charged the tax rate too high. I mean,
We've actually lowered the millage rate to get to this point, and this was a goal to leave the district tax.
Somebody beside you should answer me, Commissioner.
Okay, then you're going to get the same answer from administration, because I've worked with them for a very long time.
I've had clarification that I need. Thank you very much.
I think that, just to clarify, we had the motion in the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You're voting no?
No,
To pay the mortgage off, you're voting no?
I'm voting no, that we
Okay.
should not pay this off.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next item is you again, Chief. Chief report.
I've spoken enough tonight.
Okay, Assistant Chief DeWitt,
I have nothing, sir. Thank you.
Deputy Chief?
I'm going to second what the chief said.
Yeah.
I've spoken now.
And Deputy Chief Madden's report is in your packet. It's interesting reading, actually. You do a very nice job on that, by the way.
Thanks.
Alex Grant, Any public comment?
Good, I'm glad you paid off the debt on Station 4, by the way.
Well, thank you, Alex.
Congratulations. Okay, number one, the fire district's contract with collective bargaining agreement for supervisory personnel, and also the local 3444 suppression personnel and employees hired after June the 1st, 2012, as well as civilian staff effective through 9/30/16, which I'm assuming is expiring this year. I'm assuming it's 3 years or something like that. Anyway, does an attorney in labor negotiations from Terry Lewis's office, that's your attorney I guess in Tallahassee, he is located, whatever. Do they have an attorney that looks over the contracts prior to the board's approval? That's the question I have, basically. And, well, that's the question I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment this evening? Need a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Happy New Year.